The grill was hot. The kids were laughing. And for the Harris family, this was just another peaceful Saturday afternoon, until a black car pulled up and a stranger stepped out with a clipboard and a scowl. She claimed to speak for the HOA. She said their gathering was a problem. But what she didn't know, what not a single neighbor whispering behind their blinds knew, was that the man flipping burgers wasn't just the host. He was the one person in town with the power to change everything. And when he stepped forward, the entire neighborhood went silent. Where are you watching from? Drop your city in the comments. We love seeing our community stand together. The afternoon sun cast a warm glow over the Harris family's backyard, illuminating a scene of contentment and joy. Children's laughter echoed as they darted between the picnic table and the garden, their carefree energy filling the air. The tantalizing aroma of grilled chicken, seasoned with Aaron Harris's signature blend of spices, wafted from the barbecue pit, mixing with the fresh scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass. In this suburban neighborhood, tucked away from the bustle of the city, the Harris family had gathered to celebrate a simple but meaningful occasion, a weekend spent together, surrounded by friends and family. Aaron, a tall man with a calm and reassuring presence, moved effortlessly between the grill and the table, making sure everything was perfect. His wife, Denise, laughed softly as she arranged plates of coleslaw and macaroni salad, her eyes sparkling with pride at the sight of their children enjoying the day. Nearby, Aaron's teenage daughter helped her younger brother chase a frisbee, their playful shouts mingling with the soft hum of summer cicadas. The scene was idyllic, the kind of peaceful Saturday afternoon most families dream of. Yet, beneath the surface of this joyful gathering, a quiet tension was about to unfurl, threatening to disrupt the harmony with the arrival of an unexpected visitor. A sleek black car rolled slowly down the street, coming to a stop in front of the Harris home. From it stepped a woman in her late 50s, dressed in a sharply tailored suit that matched the stern set of her jaw. Carol Mitchell was known in the neighborhood, though never as a friend. Her reputation for strict adherence to rules and an unyielding sense of order preceded her. She moved with purpose as she approached the house, her eyes narrowed slightly as she took in the lively scene before her. Carol's presence was like a shadow cast over the sunlit gathering. As she reached the front yard, the cheerful noise dimmed, conversations paused, and heads turned with a mixture of curiosity and unease. Denise was the first to notice, her smile faltering just a bit as she caught sight of the visitor. "Can I help you?" Denise asked politely, stepping forward. Carol's gaze swept over the group, lingering on the children playing near the fence, then settling on the table laden with food. "I'm here on behalf of the Homeowners Association," she said crisply. "There's been a complaint about your gathering." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. A complaint. It was as if the carefree afternoon had been punctured by an unseen needle, the excitement deflating into caution. Aaron wiped his hands on a towel, stepping up beside his wife with a calm that contrasted the sudden tension. "What kind of complaint?" he asked evenly. Carol's lips pressed into a thin line. "Noise. Unapproved gatherings. It's against the neighborhood rules to hold events like this without prior approval from the HOA." Denise's brows knitted together. "We've lived here for years. This is a private family barbecue. No one's causing a disturbance." Carol's eyes flicked toward the nearest neighbors' houses, where windows were closed and curtains drawn. "That's not the impression I've received," she said, voice low but firm. "The HOA expects all residents to adhere to the community standards. If you want to continue, you'll need to apply for a permit." The children stopped their game, sensing the shift in mood. Aaron glanced down at his son, who looked up with wide, confused eyes, then back at Carol. "I wasn't aware such a permit was necessary for a family gathering," Aaron replied, his tone steady but resolute. "We've always respected the neighborhood and kept things reasonable." Carol's expression hardened. "Respect means following the rules. It's not about what you think is reasonable." Behind her, the black car's engine idled quietly, a subtle reminder of the authority she represented. The neighbors, who had been watching from behind curtains and across lawns, whispered among themselves, their curiosity tinged with unease. Aaron took a slow breath, his eyes meeting Carol's without a flicker of anger or frustration. "We have every right to enjoy our property. I understand the HOA's role, but this isn't a commercial event or a public gathering. It's a family barbecue." Carol's gaze drifted over the assembled group again, her lips tightening as if weighing the situation. Despite the warmth of the day and the genuine smiles exchanged between the Harris family and their guests, Carol's discomfort was palpable. For her, this gathering represented more than just noise or a breach of protocol. It symbolized a disruption to the orderly image she had long maintained of the neighborhood. "Rules are rules," she said, her voice rising slightly. "Everyone must follow them, no exceptions." Denise stepped forward, her voice measured but firm. "We're not trying to break any rules. We simply want to enjoy time together in our home." Carol's eyes flicked to the children again, then to the food on the table, and finally back to Aaron with a steely gaze. "I'm just doing my duty to maintain the standards of this community." Aaron nodded slowly, acknowledging her position, but refusing to be intimidated. "And I respect that. But please understand, this is our home. We're neighbors, and I hope we can all find a way to coexist without unnecessary conflict." For a moment, the air was thick with unspoken tension. Carol's jaw clenched as she weighed her options, caught between the rigid enforcement of rules and the undeniable fact that the Harris family was simply living their lives. Finally, she straightened, her tone colder, but tinged with reluctant concession. "Very well, but I'll be reporting this to the HOA. They will decide if further action is required." With that, Carol turned sharply and returned to her car, leaving behind a neighborhood rattled by the intrusion. The cheerful sounds of the barbecue had dimmed, replaced by an uneasy quiet that settled over the yard like a heavy fog. Aaron looked around at his family and friends, his expression serious but composed. "Let's not let this ruin our day," he said softly. "We know who we are and what we're doing here." Denise nodded, forcing a smile. "We'll handle this together." As the black car disappeared down the street, the Harris family resumed their afternoon. But the shadow of Carol Mitchell's visit lingered. The idyllic weekend gathering had been disrupted, not by noise or disorder, but by a stranger's rigid insistence on control, a reminder that even in peaceful neighborhoods, divisions could emerge, fueled by discomfort and unspoken prejudice. Yet amidst the uncertainty, the Harris family's resolve remained unshaken. They knew that their right to celebrate, to be themselves in their own home, was worth standing up for. And as the sun continued its slow descent, casting long shadows across the lawn, the promise of unity and dignity flickered quietly in their hearts. The afternoon light softened as the HOA representative lingered in the Harris family's yard, her presence casting an unspoken tension over the once lively gathering. Carol Mitchell's sharp gaze roamed the group, her arms folded tightly across her chest, embodying the rigidity she represented. The neighbors who had been observing from behind curtains and across fences now watched with bated breath, sensing the undercurrents of conflict beneath the polite interactions. Aaron Harris took a slow breath, stepping forward with a calmness that seemed to settle the air. "Mitchell," he began, his voice steady and respectful. "I understand the concerns you've raised, but I want to assure you that this is a private, lawful event. Our family gathers here regularly, and we've always been mindful of the neighborhood's peace." Carol's eyes narrowed slightly, skepticism writ plain across her features. "That may be your perspective, but several neighbors have expressed discomfort. They say the noise levels are disruptive, and that such gatherings should be subject to HOA approval." Denise, standing beside Aaron, added quietly, "We've done our best to keep the volume reasonable. The children's laughter and the music are all part of a family gathering, nothing more." Carol's lips pressed together in a thin line. "Rules exist for a reason. The HOA is tasked with maintaining the community standards, and that includes regulating events that could disturb the neighborhood's quiet." Aaron nodded thoughtfully, acknowledging her point without conceding ground. "I appreciate the role of the HOA, but I also believe in mutual respect. Our intention is not to disturb anyone, but to celebrate with our family and friends. A barbecue is hardly an event that should warrant such concern." A faint murmur rippled through the small crowd of neighbors who had gathered, some nodding in agreement, others remaining silent, perhaps uncertain of where they stood. Carol's gaze flicked toward a group of teenagers near the fence, their voices lowered, but still audible. Even so, these gatherings set a precedent. If one family can do this without approval, others might follow, leading to unchecked noise and disorder. Aaron's expression remained composed, his voice measured as he replied, "We live here too. We want nothing more than harmony in the neighborhood. But harmony shouldn't come at the cost of excluding or silencing lawful expressions of family life." Carol's posture stiffened, her fingers tapping a brief, impatient rhythm against her forearm. "You may see it that way, but the HOA's rules are clear. Without prior approval, gatherings beyond immediate family are not permitted." Denise's eyes softened as she spoke, her tone earnest. "We understand the importance of rules, but we also hope for understanding. This is a moment of connection for us, a chance to build bonds, not break them." Aaron glanced around at the faces of their guests. Old friends, close relatives, children whose smiles had dimmed under the weight of the confrontation. "We've always respected this community, and we're committed to doing so. But we ask for the same respect in return." Carol's gaze faltered for a moment, revealing a flicker of uncertainty beneath her stern exterior. Still, she held firm. "I'm here to enforce the standards set by the HOA. If you wish to continue, you must comply with the rules." Aaron nodded once more, his voice calm but resolute. "We will consider what you've said, but please understand that we have every right to enjoy our home." As the tension thickened, a neighbor stepped forward from the sidelines, Mr. Jacobs, an elderly man known for his quiet wisdom and long tenure in the community. "I've lived here for over 30 years, he said softly, addressing Carol. "I've seen many families come and go, and the Harris family has always been respectful and considerate. This gathering is no different." Carol turned her attention to Mr. Jacobs, but remained unmoved. "Respect is not subjective. It's about following the guidelines agreed upon by the community." Aaron responded gently, "Guidelines are important, but so is the spirit in which they're applied. We want to contribute positively, not cause division." The exchange left the group in a delicate balance, the HOA's rules pitted against the Harris family's plea for understanding. The presence of the HOA representative had transformed the afternoon from one of carefree joy to a charged encounter where community boundaries were being tested. Denise reached out to comfort her daughter, who had withdrawn to the side, her face clouded by confusion. "It's okay," Denise whispered. "We're doing the right thing." Aaron caught Carol's eye once more, his tone steady but carrying a quiet strength. "I hope this conversation opens a door to dialogue rather than discord." Carol's expression hardened again, but there was a hint of hesitation in her voice as she replied, "I will report this incident to the HOA board. They will determine if further action is necessary." As she turned to leave, the murmurs among the neighbors resumed, a mixture of support and unease rippling through the street. The shadow cast by the confrontation lingered, but so did the Harris family's composed dignity. Aaron gathered his family close, his voice low yet firm. "Let's remember who we are and what we stand for. We won't let this divide us." Denise nodded, her eyes shining with quiet determination. "We'll face whatever comes next together." The sun dipped lower, casting warm hues over the neighborhood, but the warmth of the afternoon had been tempered by the coldness of rigid rules and unspoken judgments. Yet, in the hearts of the Harris family, a quiet resolve took root, a commitment to stand firm in their right to celebrate, to live, and to be part of a community that should embrace all its members. The tension in the air had not fully dissipated when Aaron Harris took a deliberate step forward, his gaze steady and unflinching as he addressed the small crowd and the lingering HOA representative. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the yard, but Aaron's presence seemed to fill the space with a quiet authority that could not be ignored. "Before this conversation moves any further," Aaron began, his voice calm but carrying a weight that turned heads, "there's something I think everyone here should know." Carol Mitchell's eyes narrowed, suspicion flickering across her features. "And what would that be?" Aaron met her gaze evenly. "I am the mayor of this town." A ripple of surprise swept through the assembled neighbors. Whispers began to rise, a mixture of disbelief and curiosity. Denise's hand found Aaron's arm, squeezing gently as the moment settled into the warm afternoon air. Carol's confident posture faltered slightly. The rigid mask she had worn since arriving showed a crack, if only for a heartbeat. The realization that the man whose home she had just challenged was the town's highest elected official unsettled her more deeply than she expected. Aaron continued, his tone steady but firm. "I've lived here for many years, just like all of you. I've served this community because I believe in fairness, respect, and inclusion. This gathering today is no different from the many family events that take place throughout our town." The neighbors exchanged glances, their earlier judgments softening with this new information. The weight of Aaron's position lent gravity to his words, shifting the dynamics of the conversation. Carol's eyes darted between the mayor and the faces of those watching, her bravado waning. "I'm sorry if my actions caused any offense," Aaron said, turning his attention back to Carol. "But I must emphasize the importance of not letting rules become weapons of exclusion. Prejudice disguised as regulation can fracture the very communities we strive to build." Carol swallowed hard, the confidence she had wielded like a shield now replaced by uncertainty. The HOA representative, who had arrived with a sense of authority, now found herself confronted by the reality that her complaint was based on a misunderstanding, if not a misjudgment. I was only following protocol," Carol stammered, her voice less sure than before. Aaron nodded, acknowledging her position without dismissal. "I understand that. but protocol must be applied with wisdom and fairness. The spirit of our community is built on trust and respect, not fear or division. Denise stepped forward, her voice gentle yet resolute. We've always wanted to be part of this neighborhood, to build connections, not walls. Today was meant to be a celebration of family and friendship. The neighbors began to murmur in agreement, a few stepping closer to the Harris family in quiet support. Mr. Jacobs, the elderly neighbor who had spoken earlier, nodded approvingly. Mayor Harris is right. This family has done nothing but contribute positively to our community. Carol looked around, realizing she was increasingly isolated. The realization settled heavily on her shoulders. Her complaint, born more of discomfort and unspoken bias than genuine concern, now seemed misplaced. I apologize for any trouble I have caused, Carol said softly, her voice lacking the earlier sharpness. I did not mean to disrupt a peaceful gathering. Aaron accepted the apology with a nod, his demeanor gracious. Thank you, Carol. Apologies are a step toward understanding. I hope we can all learn from this and work together to foster a welcoming community. The tension that had gripped the neighborhood began to dissolve, replaced by a cautious but genuine sense of reconciliation. The neighbors slowly returned to their homes or mingled with the Harris family, the earlier discord giving way to tentative conversations and renewed camaraderie. As Carol prepared to leave, the HOA representative who had accompanied her approached Aaron. I apologize for the misunderstanding, she said quietly. We will review the situation carefully before taking any further action. Aaron smiled gently. That's all I ask, fairness and consideration. With that, Carol left, the black car pulling away down the street, leaving behind a yard filled with families and neighbors who had witnessed a moment of truth. The Harris family gathered once more, their unity strengthened by the ordeal. Aaron looked around at his loved ones and friends, the sunlight catching in Denise's eyes and the bright smiles of his children. Today was a reminder, he said softly, that true leadership is about standing for what is right, even when it's difficult. Denise nodded, her hand resting on Aaron's, and about teaching others the value of respect and inclusion. The neighbors who remained began to share stories and laughter, the bonds of community slowly knitting themselves back together. The incident became a catalyst for reflection and growth, a quiet but powerful testament to the strength found in dignity and understanding. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden glow over the neighborhood, Aaron stood tall, a symbol of resilience and hope. The conversation had shifted, the barriers lowered, and the promise of a more inclusive community took root, ready to flourish in the days to come. The days following the confrontation between the Harris family and the HOA reverberated quietly through the neighborhood. Whispers and glances replaced the usual nods of greeting as residents wrestled with their own feelings about what had transpired. The uneasy tension that had settled after Carol Mitchell's complaint lingered, but beneath it, a slow but steady current of reflection began to flow. Carol found herself increasingly isolated. The neighbors who had once exchanged polite smiles now averted their eyes when she approached. Her rigid stance, once seen as upholding community standards, was now viewed through a lens of exclusion and mistrust. The subtle but unmistakable distance felt like a rebuke, and it unsettled her deeply. One afternoon, Carol stood hesitantly at the edge of the Harris's front yard, her posture less assured than before. Aaron, tending to a small flower bed near the porch, looked up and offered a warm, inviting smile. Denise appeared beside him, her eyes gentle but resolute. Carol cleared her throat, her voice soft with uncharacteristic vulnerability. Aaron, Denise, I wanted to apologize for my actions. I realize now that my complaint was misguided, and I'm sorry for the disruption I caused. Aaron set down his gardening tools and stepped forward, his expression open and sincere. Thank you, Carol. Apology accepted. It takes courage to acknowledge mistakes, and we appreciate your willingness to reach out. Denise nodded, adding, We all want to live in a community where everyone feels welcome and respected. Hopefully, this is a step toward that. Carol's shoulders relaxed slightly. I hope so, too. I want to do better. The exchange marked a turning point, signaling the beginning of healing that extended beyond the Harris family. News of Carol's apology spread, fostering a shift in the neighborhood's atmosphere. Many residents who had remained silent found their voices, reaching out to the Harris family with offers of support and invitations to future gatherings. Aaron reflected on the experience quietly one evening, seated on the porch with Denise as the sun dipped below the horizon. This has been a lesson in patience and leadership, he said thoughtfully. Sometimes, standing firm with dignity is the best way to open hearts and minds. Denise smiled warmly. And it reminds us that real change comes from understanding, not anger. Encouraged by the growing support, the Harris family decided to host another barbecue not long after the incident. This time, the turnout was larger and more diverse, with neighbors who had once kept their distance now joining in the festivities. The air was filled with laughter, music, and the welcoming aroma of grilled food, a testament to the resilience of community spirit. As the gathering unfolded, Aaron moved among the guests, sharing stories and laughter. Children played freely, their joy undiminished by past tensions. Denise coordinated a small group preparing side dishes, her eyes shining with pride at the sight of neighbors coming together. A sense of renewed solidarity permeated the evening, the wounds of misunderstanding beginning to heal. The Harris family stood at the heart of it all, their dignity and grace having transformed a moment of conflict into an opportunity for unity. As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the neighborhood, Aaron paused to reflect. The journey had been challenging, but it reaffirmed a simple truth, that community is built not just on rules, but on respect, empathy, and the willingness to see one another's humanity. The camera lingers on Aaron's thoughtful face, a symbol of steadfast leadership and hope. The story closes on this note of optimism, a call to action for all to embrace inclusivity and stand firm in their values, fostering communities where every voice is heard and every family is valued. If you loved the story, like the video and subscribe. Thanks for watching all the way through. If stories like this matter to you, hit that subscribe, like, and share.